Hey friends, happy Wednesday, April the 10th, day 170 of Experiencing God. How have you experienced God today? So today I experienced God through the oil. When you die, are you going to heaven? You know, the Bible tells us that there's a real heaven and there's a real hell. And when you and I die, each of us, whoever dies, we're going to spend eternity in one of those places. And once we die, there's no changing our mind. So what does it take to get to heaven? It takes a relationship with Jesus. Jesus said in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. A relationship with Jesus is the only way to heaven. And today I read this quote online and it had me thinking about that. And it had me thinking about the oil. And it said, you cannot borrow preparedness from someone else. Make sure your lamp has oil in it. The world is getting dark. The oil comes from a relationship with Jesus. It's what keeps the fire of God burning on the inside of us. In Matthew 25, verse 1 through 13, there's a parable about the 10 bridesmaids. 5 of the bridesmaids were ready for Christ to return, and 5 of the bridesmaids were foolish. 5 of the foolish bridesmaids, they ran out of oil and they couldn't see in the dark. They were not prepared, and they were trying to live off the preparedness of the 5 wise bridesmaids. And it reminded me of this conversation I had in CVS with 2 young women about 2 months ago. And so I ran into these 2 young women and I was like, hey, can I pray for you? And I prayed for them. And then I was checking out and I was like, you know what? I didn't ask them the most important question. And so when they got up beside me, I looked at them and I was like, hey, are y'all going to heaven? And they just kind of looked at one another and then they looked at me and they were like, yes, our grandmother is a preacher. And I was like, no, I'm not asking about your grandmother. I'm asking about you. Are you going to heaven? And they just kind of looked at each other and they were like, yeah. But here's the thing. You cannot get to heaven on someone else's oil. You cannot get to heaven on someone else's relationship with Jesus. It doesn't matter about your parents or your grandparents or your spouse or your children. You must have your own relationship with Jesus. You must have your own oil. You must not run out of the oil. And so when it comes to heaven, we only get there through a relationship with Jesus. And I just want to encourage you guys tonight on this great Wednesday night, go and get some oil. Don't let it run out. God loves you so much. Have a great night.